everyone, and welcome to the Spiritual Insight Show. I am Reverend Tiffany, White Sage Woman. I am excited to be with you again today, live. Uh, it is a beautiful, hot, humid day in southeastern Connecticut. I do find that a lot of places are experiencing maybe some high humidity. And on that note, it is air conditioning time, so you may hear the sounds change when the AC kicks on. I have it on like the lowest setting that it can without making me uncomfortable, but it will kick on. So if you hear distortion in the sound, or some people said they can hear it, or it's humming, just say, okay, see, it's kicking on now. So it'll shut off. Just bear with me here because the AC is almost right behind the computer here because there's another window. So that's why it can pick up the sound so easily. All right. So anyway, I hope everyone is staying cool. Staying cool as the summer months are finally kicking in. We had the summer solstice this past weekend, and it does seem in some areas like it's slow to start, but we are getting there. And so, wow, the sunbeams are really coming in from behind me. I can see the sun energy, almost like kind of streaking the screen a little bit. It's kind of interesting. All right, it might be just me. And what I'm looking at right now. Anyway. Welcome everyone. And if you do see smoke, I burn incense for those who may be watching for the first time, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this recorded. I'm grateful for everyone viewing. And for those of you who are watching live, you do have the ability to chat with others as well. So all you have to do is go to the Ustream channel. Of course, if you're watching this live, you know how to do that. But look on the right-hand side. There's videos, social stream, and chat. Click on the chat, and then you can chat with others. And I can read the chat as well, so you can leave your messages and comments there. If you're watching this recorded, hey, that's great too. So it's fine. Just be sure to, I am getting a lot of emails from those that are watching it, like if on their time, because a lot of people are working right now. So I'm getting a lot of feedback. Thank you. Keep up with the feedback. I love hearing from you. And, the reason why my inspiration, let me say that. Y'all are my inspiration. I'm gonna say for doing what I do, but for being who I am. And each and every one of us have this beautiful balance of doing and being, right? We should. All right. So we'll always like to start the show with numerology for the day. Numbers are very powerful. They are very much a part of our divine design. All right, numbers. And you think about geometry, you think about math and sacred geometry. You just think about these types of things, how numbers are effective. And as we say math, and most people cringe, I want you to really put that into numbers in creation. All right, how important numbers are in creation. How important are they in science? Okay, and also numbers in music, numbers in sound go hand in hand with each other. So let me just give an example. I gave this a couple of weeks ago. If you haven't watched Close Encounters of the Third Kind, it's an old movie. If you haven't watched it, watch it. How do the scientists communicate with the mothership or with the spaceship that comes down? All right. They use a keyboard. All right. And with numbers, they're using a certain algorithm or a certain pattern of numbers and sound. And it's astounding, but it's true. So this is why I like to incorporate and show the importance of numbers in our daily life. So we're going to use the complete date for the numerology energies of the day. It's June 23rd, 2015. So June is 6. And I just have to say, in numerology, we take all numbers down to a single digit between 1 to 9. So today's the 23rd. So 2 plus 3 is 5. Then, of course, the year 2015 is a number 8 vibration. And we get that 2 plus 0 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 5 is 8. So now let's get the three numbers that we took down to single digits. June is 6 plus 5 plus 8. You add that all together, it's 19. 1 plus 9 is 10. 1 plus 0 is 1. Or if you want to do the rule of 9 and drop the 9, you're left with 1, right? So, 1. Yes, this is a very high vibrational day. It's a new cycle. It's dynamic. It has tremendous energy. It's a day of beginning and a day of changes. The day to put new ideas into action. Ideas that you have been working on. This is the time to put them in action. Begin working on it. Maybe even the things that you've been putting off. Let's complete what has already been started. Your independence is very important to you today. And it's time to stand on your own 2 feet and forge forward, even without perceived support from the outside. Please know you always have support within. The possibility of meeting someone new today is also very strong. And it can be someone new in all areas. Okay, so don't just, some people go, ooh, romance. Sure, it could be romance. It could also be something that's going to affect your business. It could just be a new friend. It could just be anyone. All right? So, let me just type something in chat real quick. So, okay. All right, somebody's making a comment, and I'm just, there we go. All right. So, very powerful day. Let's get going. Start something new after the show. And you can keep this energy going, so once you start that cycle, it just puts it in motion. But today is the day to do that. Let's start it, all right? So, if you haven't checked out the True Psychics Network website, I highly encourage you to do so. Check out, there's so many different wonderful pages to view. Right on the front page, there is a carousel, so to speak. You have to scroll through to see all the members of True Psychics Network. Please check out each member, because each member has something truly unique. Even if they are trained in the same modalities, each person has a unique delivery on their services. So please check out they're highly professional, holistic professionals. All right, holistic practitioners who are highly professional. Check everyone out. Scroll down to the bottom of that first page. You will see our advertisers, those who advertise to have their businesses listed. And if you're interested in advertising with True Psychics Network, you can go to the advertising page. Just click on that tab. You also click on the TPN Magazine tab. There's a lot of interesting articles, and that is also how we announce like the upcoming shows. We put in all the show details. If you would like to sign up and subscribe to the True Psychics Network TPN Magazine, you can do that as well. And what that will do is that each time there's a new post, you will receive an email on that. So that way you're not missing anything. And also, while you're still on the True Psychics Network website, click on the horoscopes. The horoscopes refresh each week. And this week, the horoscopes are channeled by Sherry Scott. So see what energies are favorable for you this week. Absolutely fantastic. So I encourage you to check those out. And they're not so much like the traditional astrology type of horoscopes. These are channeled messages from guides for each sign that everyone needs to hear. It's for the messages for your highest and greatest. So definitely check that out. Okay? And also, you can check out my personal website is whitesagewoman.com. Check out whitesagewoman.com. Also like to go over the crystal message each week. I like to give a crystal message and a spirit power animal message. All right, so these are valuable tools. These are very valuable resources, and just to show you that we have so many tools and helpers in not just in the spirit world, but in the physical world that we overlook and that we sometimes don't pay attention to. And crystals, think about where the crystals come from. They come from Earth. They're such a high vibration. And what shaped them could be location, the weathering, all right, the temperatures of their environment, of their location. Beautiful, and we all are like that. And there's so many different, as you know, there's so many different gemstones out there, and you can put gemstones in the same type of environment and weather situation, and sometimes they will come out differently. That's how, it's just showing how unique and individual we are too, just like that. It's so beautiful. It really is. All right, so the crystal for this week that had popped up is red goldstone. Red goldstone. You can go ahead and Google that if you're not sure what that looks like. Some of you are familiar with goldstone, but red goldstone is very beautiful. It's almost like a clay type of metallic looking color. It's very beautiful. Okay. It is the stone of courage and spiritual direction. It stimulates both the physical and spiritual energies. It's beautiful. It's right in line with what we're going to talk about today with the topic. So now we're going to move on to the power spirit animal message. And what showed up was a king snake. Now, king snake has bands, has pretty band markings. It's red, black, and white, I do believe. So if it's not a red, it's like a real deep coral, almost like another clay color. It's a red goldstone color. So you can Google king snake too. But here are some of the properties that the king snake brings that they can help you with. And it's survival in the desert. Now you may think, well, I'm not in the desert. Where are you spiritually? Are you in the desert spiritually? I'm sorry, I got itches all over, right? Itchy. We'll say that for now. I got sunburned last week, so I'm a little itchy. Anyway, we'll say that for another conversation. Survival in the desert. Sylvia Brown put aside any personal opinions you have of her, talked about your desert time. This is when we've all gone through it, and we go through it several times. We feel like we are all alone, we're destitute, we feel like nothing's going right, what's going wrong, it feels like Mercury retrograde all the time. But this is why I think it's beautiful. Mercury retrograde is a desert time. It's time for you to take care of your spiritual growth and progress. All right, it's time for us to pause on the physical doing and let's take care of our spiritual being. All right, this is what we're supposed to be doing with that. All right, and so that sort of reflects that desert time, so to speak, the Mercury retrograde time, which we're not in right now. We just came off of one. But, all right. It also represents tolerance and flexibility, elusiveness, immunity to venom, and dominance over other snakes. So snakes and shedding skin, you know, as you transform, we're always shedding skin. And I guess it's really interesting. We're going to go back now to what I was telling you about being sunburned. I had family in last week, which is why I didn't do a show. And every day was, let's go do something. Let's go do something different. Let's go do something. And they've been here before, of course, so they wanted to go to the beach. So we went to the beach. Now, it was a cool day on the beach. One of those dangerous days. It was cloudy. It was a little cool, the breeze on the beach. And, you know, we had the umbrella, but the wind was blowing so badly that it knocked our umbrella over. So we just kept it down. No one could keep their umbrellas up without it blowing down. So, is that kind of day. It doesn't matter if it's cloudy, you can still get sunburned. And we put on, I don't use sunblock, but I put on my tanning oils and all those things. Even my family that did use sunblock, doesn't matter. All of us, the sun was so intense that day, even through the clouds. And quite honestly, because it was so cool, we ended up staying there a little bit longer than we normally do. We normally stay like an hour or two max. That's it. And we were there for like 3.5 hours. And at one point, while my family was walking around, and they have a great concession stand there. I mean, they make these, it's family-owned business who runs this, and it's the best. Some people just come to the beach, to the concession, just to eat because the food is so good and very affordable. So they went to go get some food. Well, I fell asleep. I was having a meditation and I just fell asleep. And so, of course, they came back and they're like, have you moved? Like, no. So now, you know, what's interesting, I'm at the points now, and I have been staying hydrated. You put lotion on, and you're still going to peel. But it was interesting because that the snake showed up because I started peeling this morning, and I thought of that old shedding new skin. It was always fascinated, I should say, with anyone that had a sunburn and started to peel. I would love to peel the skin off of them. I know I'm weird. It sounds crazy. But, and I understand why now, finally all these years, is even I'll just sit there and I'll just peel the skin off. It's so fascinating and so symbolic of seeing with physically the skin being peeled physically. You know, like we see snakes that leave their skin behind. This is our version of that. Our skin does regenerate every 7 years, but it's such a process that we don't even really see it, right? And so this is an actual physically seeing. So it's I know, pretty interesting, probably pretty creepy. Ew, she likes to peel skin. So anyway, all right. Let me do a little sound check real quick because somebody said that they couldn't. Okay, we've got it. Okay, it might be if you're watching live, just refresh. I got all systems go on this side, so yeah. All right, so just hit refresh your page or get back to it. Sometimes that happens. All right, now let's get to the topic: effective communication. Effective communication. We're not talking about technology here. Because sometimes technology's not very effective. No, let me stop. Everything's going smooth. Let me not ruin it. All right, so now let's begin with the topic of effective communication. I love how the guides bring show topics to me. So last week I had off because the family was in town. But last Tuesday morning, I'm used to sitting in meditation and journal and just have my quiet time with my guides. And my different circles of guides, I name them as committees or specialists. So my spiritual insight show topic committee shows up, even though I wasn't having a show that day, and they instructed me to write immediately and save it for my next show, which is ta-da! Today, right now. All right. So my sons were having issues with communicating with each other, and one of them came to me for advice. And of course, it's like, okay, when you're going through it, as a mom, as a parent, you're kind of like, oh my gosh, just work it out. And then I realized that everything that happens to us, there's always a lesson. So let's embrace each experience instead of going, why me? All right, why not me? What's the lesson in this? In this experience? So, I'm like, all right, let me step aside for a minute as mom, view this as a spiritual teacher. So one of my sons came to me for advice, and here's the fine points that I gave him. All right, and they're both like opposites. One's very calm, and he's normally the calm one. All right, and he was frustrated, and he came to me. So the advice that came was, listen to the words that are being spoken. Tone and body language, you feel that part. But here's the problem. We often feel that part immediately and shut down to what's being said. You may feel the person speaking, the person that is speaking, you may feel their frustration, not only with the situation at hand, but maybe there's difficulty in finding the right words to express themselves. Stay calm. Don't let this mirror effect, or you picking up on their feelings, affect you and knock you off balance. Stay grounded, even if you do get upset. It's almost like you have to continuously put yourself in check. Check your emotions. Why are you getting upset? Are you picking up on their feelings? You're empathic. Empaths do. Are you picking up on their feelings? Or is what's being said hurtful to you? Is there truth to it? Why is that? Why does it hurt? Okay? If you don't understand or you get the answers to those questions immediately, that's okay. Save that reflection for your next journal time or quiet time, time with the guides, your meditation, etc., whatever you want to call it. Let's just pay attention to the conversation that's going on at that time. It's almost like when you're in an argument or you're in a situation, you're seeing it from different levels. There's so many different layers. I'm hearing what's being said. I'm also paying attention to how I'm feeling. How am I responding or reacting to what is being said? It's important to find out the trigger of why your buttons are being pushed or why you feel upset during a certain discussion or a situation. Don't hold in. Don't ever hold in how you feel to keep the peace. You're not keeping the peace. You know what you're doing? You are delaying an explosion of emotions. You're just delaying it for another day, and you're adding to it. The more you push it aside, the more you try to, I'm going to keep the peace. And this is what my son was doing. The calm one was, I'm just going to keep the peace, but he was avoiding the issue. So now what happens is he had an implosion where he was so frustrated, all right, because he wasn't dealing with it. He wasn't checking himself. Yep, don't hold it in. And you know what? Don't take everything so darn personal. We really do, don't we? Get so offensive, get offended and offensive so easily. And it's like, oh my goodness, I'm going to sue you, or this isn't right. This isn't, come on. Really? Let's take responsibility for our actions. And all right, so what is in the news now that they're talking about as another distraction? I don't watch the news, but in social networks you do see the news that comes up. So evidently the whole, there's a Confederate flag that's up in a political public setting, and it needs to come down. Absolutely, it needs to come down. Not because of what you think it represents, all right? The mere fact that it's a battle flag, it should be taken down. There's no other battle flags that are represented in any type of political setting, is there? The Confederate flag is the only one. Let's look beyond what the separation that people tried to put into. Oh, it represents, racism. It represents separation. Well, Civil War was about separation. Think about the whole Civil War. How embarrassing it is as a nation who just had their independence to go into this Civil War. But don't ever believe what your history books say. It's getting rewritten. There was another reason for them going into war, and it was territory lines. I want you to find a map of what the United States looked like before the Civil War. And then after the Civil War, the states look different. Oh, why is that? They had to settle up state size. Always about politics, always about someone else. This is why we were thrown in Civil War. Oh, let's just throw that, okay, it's for civil rights. It's for whether, free the slaves and free. No. All right? That may be part of it, but that's not the whole reason. There's always another reason. Okay? So, let's get back to this. The fact that it is a battle flag, period, it should not. Take it down. It should not be displayed. Take it down, put it in a museum with the rest of the battle flags. The Confederate flag was not the only battle flag. All right? Do the research. So, sure, take it down. If it offends you, maybe it offended you in a past life. Were you involved in the Civil War? Let's really sit and explore our emotions, our feelings, our reactions and responses to situations. Instead of immediately saying, well, this offends me, you are in the wrong. Wait a minute. Don't go placing blame. Don't go pointing fingers. Find out why you feel that way. There's always a reason. And situations come up so that you can deal with them instead of pushing it away and blaming and, oh, I'm going to sue you. I'm going to do this, that, and the other. Even if you win a lawsuit like that, the rest of your life is going to be very hard because you have to pay that back. You have to balance that out. Whether you want to call it karma or not, there's always balancing that's happening in the universe with everything that is alive, with energy. There's always a balance. There's always a stabling situation. Have to keep the energy stable. Do you understand that? And we're energy. Energy has to be stabilized. Well, my sons were able to calmly and effectively express themselves to each other without raised voices or arguing. So, if we are not effective or clear communicators in our daily physical lives, we can't expect clear, easy, and effective communication with spirit guides, angels, and higher vibrational beings. Now, there's two sides to this. And that last statement that I just said was for those who are new in awakening and developing their intuition process. Going within is the most effective way to develop your abilities. I have found that the more that I have been communicating again with the guides, and we'll get to that in a minute, the more that I have been communicating, and it has increased, all right? The more that I do this on a daily basis and honor it, guess what happens? It does truly affect your communication with others in the physical realm as well. You can communicate with humans. Even if they aren't very receptive to what you're saying and what you're communicating, your response to them is so much more calmer. And maybe you start to understand them in a way you didn't before. All right. Now, the other side to that statement that I had said was that There are those who've been communicating with spirit, with angels and higher beings since childhood, and they may get so comfortable with that type of communication that they are ineffective, shy, or not so good at human communication. They're used to telepathy. Now, I've been on both sides of these, which are extremes. I have, in my youth, I was like that. Very shy, believe it or not. When I did communicate, I was told to be quiet because I was, my world. This is what I'm seeing and experiencing. Be quiet. Nobody wants to hear that. You know, no one else can see or experience this. And here you're thinking everyone else is. So it puts you into that, fine, I just don't, shut down mode for a while until you pick back up again. And so you don't want to stay stuck in that world, because it's almost like I did create, and we do. We create another world, or we want to stay in that other realm with the guides and with spirit, and just, okay, this is so much easier. Humans are hard. I don't want to talk to them, but we have to keep working and developing, because it truly is an ongoing process to stay balanced and not go from one extreme to the next. Honor each side of the extreme, then bring it to a balanced focus. The third eye, focus. Have you ever noticed that? We have a right eye, a left eye. We can think there's the one side, the other side. All right, or extremes. And right in the center is always that balance. And when you reach that balanced state, your focus, your eyesight, your visions become so much clearer. You can see things and know things. All right, that you can't explain, and it's okay. You don't have to explain anything. You don't. All right? Because those who live right here in Sacred Heart Center in the soul is the driver, is in command, will understand what you're talking about. Those who are living in their mind, where control is, won't understand, and they will have to get to that in their own terms, in their own way, and keep working on their development. Okay, so it is very important. And again, everything it seems to be, let's go back to the balance, but that's what it is. It's easy to get caught up, and even when I talked about with the flag, how many other topics are there? And you can tell, even like in social media, someone who's trying to stir the pot. We'll put this out there and let me see which side of the fence you're falling on. Which side? Why, first off, would someone do that? They just, just to create, they're bored, just want to create responses. Is it entertaining to them to see how someone's going to react? And there is a difference between a reaction and a response. Again, two sides of the extremes. There is a video on my YouTube channel that does specifically talk about reaction and response. I do believe, if not, I think I may have gone into detail of another show. I'll have to check that out. But I do remember talking about it. All right. So it might have been a show topic in the past. But anyway, just to recap, it's very, very easy. React is how we are as a society. In the past, very reactive, very explosive, very without thinking. I mean, without taking that pause, the reflection, because you can think, you can overthink, it's just a reaction. What's your initial reaction to it? And the reaction is triggered by fear. All right, and it's fear or survival. We have to pause that. And I'm not saying ignore it. I'm saying count to 10. This is what most people say. Count to 10. Count to 10. That gets you to the responsive state. That now gets you to, all right, I'm going to, I understand. I'm not saying ignore your reaction. Absolutely not. Never, ever ignore your extremes. because they are part of the whole. They are part of the balance. All right? And they both are equally important, and you have to explore both sides. So explore, again, like this questions. Why am I reacting that way? Is it because I'm empathic and I'm following the majority's feelings? That group reaction is very powerful. You get caught up in that. And this is why a lot of empaths don't want to be in big groups. Do not want to be, all right, because they can feel everything. So just be careful. Know yourself. Know who you are. Take that time to know who you are. Oh, okay. I don't have to react that way. I can just be calm. Because guarantee you, the people that do it on purpose, who wants to see people react or overreact, will be dumbfounded when you're calm and responsive. All right? So, and here's an easy way. Is I homeschooled my sons. And so we taught, it was really, really fun to teach history. I was reluctant at first because it was like, oh, history, people just keep repeating the same mistakes. But it got really interesting when actually some of the founding fathers came in. And so, and I was like, oh, this is great. Okay. You know, so my sons felt their presence. They might not have been able to hear them, but they had their own communication, their way to communicate, and then of course through me as well. And so it was absolute blast communicating with them, but you know, and learning a little bit about you know the history and how things are, whatever. And so it was actually one of the founding fathers suggestions, and I could tell you which one who said this, but you could probably know who it was too. A lot of people in our history are idolized and put onto such a high pedestal that they may get appalled if they hear how they really lived, which I think more and more of that's coming out. But they're human too. Hello. All right, they're having that human experience. But it was, you have to think sometimes like the bad person. If you want to win, and strategically, and of course y'all are going to know this came from George Washington, strategically, you have to think like the bad guy. So, what would you do to control the masses? Seriously. What would you do to control a huge mass of people? Write it down. Doesn't mean you're bad and oh my gosh, you're not going to hell because you're writing it down. All right? What you're doing is you're exploring that dark side. That's a part of you, and it's okay to explore that. Let's explore it. What would you do if you were a dictator? How would you control the people? Oh, let's look at that list. Does it sound familiar? Has it happened in history? Is it happening now? Hello? That little exercise is to help you understand humanity. Help you to understand humanity's extremes and how we do go from one extreme to the next. And we may think that it's hard to stay balanced, but the upper vibrational beings that watch us, whether you would call them aliens or other life forms, can't believe that we choose to be off balance and go from one extreme to the next. All right, to them it's so easy to stay balanced because they know the dangers of going from one extreme to the next by watching us. And we have chose this way of life for such a long time that it feels natural, and that's what those who want to control the masses are banking on. You can wrap it up with tradition, you can wrap it up with all of this, that, and the other, anything to excuse excuses that we make for ourselves. All right. You know, so isn't it most interesting? Let me give you an example here. Is that let's think about commercials. Some of the sodas, junk food, foods that are not good for us, have the most catchy jingles, don't they? Even growing up, I remember this commercial. Careful, because now what you're doing is nostalgic. You're remembering. Oh, this is great because those days were great. You're thinking that this product is great. It's not. You know, if I did a cute little jingle for Poison, would you take it? Sadly, some people would. All right. So, and wrap it with tradition. Ooh. Yeah. Very dangerous. So, have fun with that. Seriously sit down and do that. You're not evil, you're not wicked. You're just checking out, you're peeking in on the dark side. There's nothing wrong with that. Remember to come back to the balance. Don't stay there. Alright? That's why I love Star Wars so much. People joking, oh, you know, it's talking about the light and the dark. With the both sides, and come to the dark side. It actually is great representation of humanity. I had always thought that those that represented the white were blinded by the light. So people, oh, you know, Yoda, master teacher. Well, hold on a minute. Yoda must have been so blinded he couldn't see. He didn't give attention to Anakin like he needed. Anakin turns into Darth Vader later on. Because the person who did give him attention was who? The person on the dark side who converted him. And also, too, let's look at the real reason. Sometimes my husband and sons hate watching movies with me because I go right to the soul source of it. Right to the spiritual source. And I was like, well, see? They took Anakin away from his mother. They ripped him away from his mom at a young age. There's the love. All right? So now he's going to shut his heart down because he's around a bunch of men who's training him to be a Jedi. All right? There's a lot of struggle there. You can see that struggle. So he joins the dark side. But guess what? Now that he's explored both, he does eventually come back to the balance and does the right thing. It is the end of his life. That's why I think it's a great movie. But do we have to wait to the end of our life to get to that? No, we don't. And that's just what is beautiful about this time and day. People say, oh, well, this is the time of awakening. I'm going to tell you, in the 1800s, it was said that was the time of awakening. In the 1800s, they thought that. Sure, each generation is getting more awake, so to speak, all right, than ever before. So if you kind of think about, oh my goodness, really, they were still kind of, you know, in the dark, lacking technology, whatever, in the 1800s, but they survived and came past and beyond the dark ages, the medieval times, all right. Sure, there's still violence, but not as, right? And it always changes and shapes, forms, and whatever danger and war does. Let me just say that war does. It always changes, but it's still war. What do I mean by that? You look at these. Let's go back to, and let's use Civil War as an example. You go back and see these reenactments, or just these men literally stood in front and sacrificed themselves, being shot. Would you stand in front of a whole, you have all these regiments of soldiers facing each other with guns. And I thought, they're going, wow, what? But if they didn't, they would have been killed for desertion anyway. They were going to die anyway, right? Let's just do it for freedom. Let's do it all in the name of freedom. And we have to be careful with that. This is a part of using our flag, using our traditions as a country against us. We have to be careful with that. We are moving into a place of unity. What do I think New World Order means to us is totally misunderstood. New World Order is a spiritual higher vibration, not a political move, but they're trying to make it a political move. Let me tell you, there's a lot that's in the political realm that maybe we're in some secret societies, but unless their heart was really in it, they're not understanding what maybe some ancient documents are talking about. All right, they're not talking about a political new world order. They're talking about a spiritual, high vibrational new world order. And guess what? It's already begun. Yes, it has. And it's picking up in speed at this time. Once we hit past 2012, it's been going much faster. All right? And so just pay attention to all this. We're going to feel physical changes. We're going to feel, wow, this is a great time to explore. How do you feel? People think, oh, that's so corny. It's not. You need to know what's going on. Would you get in a car and drive it and not feel what's going on? Like if the car starts pulling to the left, are you going to ignore that? Or pulling to the right? Some people do. Some people just drive vehicles until they die. But I'm saying you got to pay attention. The same thing like with your body. You're in this body, this sacred temple. You have to pay attention to all the bells and whistles, to your emotions, to your feelings. Pay attention to everything. And it's good to question. This way you know who you are, know yourself. Let me tell you, when you know yourself, no one else can manipulate you. Because you stand firmly in the ground. Sure, you're flexible like that flexible tree that, bends and is flexible in the wind, the strong storm. Because if you're stiff and rigid and, no, I'm not going to open my mind up to, or open my heart up to that idea because it goes against everything I was ever taught. When that strong wind comes, you're falling down. Your tree's breaking and falling down. All right? So we can't be so rigid and inflexible and not willing to change. You're writing your own death certificate when you do that. Seriously, you need to hear it that way. Okay? And whether it's a slow, torturous time till you reach that transition called death, or whether it's fast. But we need to really be open-minded. We do. All right? It's great to have our beliefs challenged. What you thought. And this is something else too. Whose belief is it? Is it your belief? Is it a learned belief? Is it a family traditional belief? We don't believe that way. Wow, okay. You fell for that group thing. It's okay if it's similar. Alright, but there's people who really copycat. Boom, 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 boom. Put pressure on the black sheep of the family, so to speak, the one that has the nerve and the courage to stand for who they are, and they get put down by the rest of the family. So what? You know who's the strongest is that black sheep. The rest of the people are blinded and are just following someone else's truth, not theirs. Not theirs. Now, I remember one time I had said something, my brother and I had gotten into a conversation and said something about, well, this is the truth. Whose truth? He asks me. Whose truth? It's a good question. I'm like, whose truth? Sure. What you are raised, how you were raised, whose truth is that? You have right here in your mind thinks truth is one way. but your soul knows the divine truth. And we have to get through what we perceive as our own truths to get to that divine truth. And sometimes we can just get right to the divine truth, and it sheds light and exposes how all these personal truths are blinded, incomplete, not balanced. All right? So again, I cannot stress balance enough, but this is the time frame that we're in, and it's very important for everyone to be flexible, to be balanced, laugh more at yourself. You make a mistake, it's okay. We're all here to learn from our experiences and to what you may think is a mishap. And what happens is that, do things get happier and more joyous and things start going right all the time? Well, hold on. What's your perception of right? Going right. In order for you to be in the balance, you must recognize that there is going to be good positive times and bad negative times. It's up to you on how you choose to react or respond to those times. Oh, it's okay. You know what? That's all right. I can't change it. I'm just going to take a deep breath. And I'll give you another example. I take the dogs out at a specific time, usually during the week. There's no one outside. All right. If I go out there to work in the yard, I'm usually the only one home. And we do have some elderly that's home during the day. But as hot as it's been, you don't expect any of them to be outside working. And they usually have contractors that come to do their work. Every once in a while, there's a neighbor who is in his 80s now, mind you. He'll go out there and he'll do his work. I think that's great. So, you're used to your schedule, right? So I always look first before I let the dogs out, because I have them trained to stay in the yard. I take the leashes out there with me, but we don't have a front fence, and they actually have done very, very well. They'll stay in the yard. So I look just to make sure no one else is walking any other dogs. So I look and see that the neighbor is outside. He's doing some work in his garden. And another neighbor had walked by with their dog. And they were chatting with them. I'm like, well, I can't let them out now. And I'm feeling the dog's frustrations because they want to go right at that moment. Stop. React. Why am I going to be mad at them? It's not their fault. They're having a conversation. I took a deep breath and I'm like, you know what? I hold the key to this. By making my choice, I can surrender to the dogs feeling frustrated because they want to go out, their impatience, or I can take the lead in this. Took a deep breath and was like, okay, everything's going to be fine. I choose not to get upset over this. Let's be flexible. It's all right. You're going to be okay. And so I actually came back into the living room, which I call the healing room. That's where I give readings and healings. And I sat down, took some incense, and I did a calming meditation. The dogs were calm. Guess what? The dogs responded. They were very calm. And they were okay. And I'm like, what's the worst case scenario? They have an accident in the house, I clean it up. Don't get upset over it, relax. Was I taking it personal? Or was it just, because I was upset for the dogs? Oh, relax. So the meditation that I did this morning, 5-10 minutes, was all it needed. I get up, I go over there, look out the window, and everyone's gone. So the neighbor must have gone inside for some lunch or for a break. Everyone was gone. Clear. So then I let the dogs out. So it's that point of where you're realizing how important your choice is. I could choose to be upset and angry over people who have no idea what, they didn't do anything wrong. They were just outside. So I chose to, it's not against me personally. It's not against the dogs or me. Don't take it personal. Get out of myself. And that's what I did by going and sit in meditation. And why did I feel that way too is because I felt like this morning time was slipping. Everything was happening so fast. And I felt like, oh my goodness, I don't have a hold on today. I don't have a hold on this. And it's okay. Keep trusting. Keep knowing that everything is going to be all right. And that's what I had to do. I just had to, I surrender. You know what? Everything is calm. And I'm going to stay calm. And it really does work. When you throw that calmness out in all directions, it really does work. All right? So, I just realized the time. Thank you, everyone who's watching this show, whether it's live or recorded. I am very grateful for each and every one of you. And if you, like I said, have any topics that you would like for me to discuss or go over, or if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me or contact me. And that's the best way to contact me, by the way, is email. So please do that. Email me. And thank you so much for taking the time, sitting in sacred circle. We're all in a circle together. And this is the beauty part of it. Here you go, Not just those that are watching it live now. The space is held for those that are going to be watching it later on. Very, very beautiful. Very powerful. Feel the love and the healing that's going around to each and every one of us. Feels good, doesn't it? Now, go and be the lighthouse and shine that love and light to everyone else too. All right? Always the give and take continuously. So give back. Remember to let your heart light shine. Many blessings to each and every one of you. Namaste.